Hello, happy new moon in Scorpio for November 20th, 2025. It's happening at, let me see, 1:47 a.m. That's Eastern time. And I'm doing a little introduction for this new moon because I'm feeling really called to mention some of the stuff that's happening with the chart. I know I've moved a little bit away from that, but this one feels really important to just bring in the astrology of what's happening during this new moon. So I'm going to pull my little Honeycomb calendar out. And as I look at this chart, I'm noticing that using a whole sign house system, the new moon, again in Eastern time, has a Libra rising, which puts Scorpio in the second house and opposes Uranus in Taurus in the eighth house. So really working with this axis around resources and how we feel resourced, along with other people's money, other people's resources, and how they impact us. Additionally, this new moon is trining Saturn, which again brings in the structures of the things that make us feel supported and resourced. And I'm curious to see how this shows up. That's an understatement. So I just spent the last minute watching my dog in the bed over here. Let's see if I can turn this over here, make himself a little nest. And when I'm in the ritual space, everything, I'm going to let him be part of this now. Everything in this space, everything is part of the ritual now. And what it made me think of when I was contemplating the new moon's trine with Saturn and it opposing Uranus, which has to do with resources, is I'm watching him make a nest out of another, like a bed that's not his. And okay, so this is what it's making me think of is, in what ways have we made ourselves comfortable in other people's systems? We'll see how that shows up. I want to see if there's anything else jumping out at me. At the same time as this new moon, we're having a Mercury Cazimi. So there's something around communications and I'm just hearing the systems in which money moves around. Mercury always makes me think of transportation, but how is money wired? And I'm saying money because we're talking about Scorpio, so the new moon happening in the second house of resources, money, I don't want to beat a dead horse by talking about that over and over again, but there's something about this. And with Mercury going retrograde, we're having to maybe rethink, reestablish, rebalance any ways we're feeling out of balance, not feeling stable in systems A because of the Saturn of it all, and then B, other people's money and the Uranus. There's going to be a shakeup, I believe. Okay, one more thing I want to add as I'm looking at this. At the same time, Venus, which rules our values, is also moving through the second house, which is so moving through Scorpio. And the word that's coming to my mind right now is the enmeshment that happens in our values, how the things that we value keep us attached or involved in things. Words are failing me. This Mercury retrograde is fucking me up. I can't wait to review this. I'm going to be doing this with my friend Eliza, and we're going to do a little chat on here. I'm so excited to be doing something like that. And that'll come later in the month. But anyways, it's just making me think of, again, Venus rules values. It also rules money and things like gold. So yeah, I don't know. I'm saying it now. I'm curious to see what happens in financial systems around this time and resources. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. It's just to be mindful. I'm just curious. I'm bringing forward this wonder and curiosity of oh, what might this look like when we're having this rethinking moment, this new moon moment around resources and our structures and maybe the shakeups of these structures, and how do we rethink these? How do we plant a seed now? That's what a new moon is all about, especially this new moon. How do we plant a seed now for something to be born or start to grow in Taurus season when we have the Scorpio full moon, which kind of to me ends this cycle. The final thing I want to say about this like axis of like Taurus and Scorpio and the planting the seed because we're in a new moon is I'm really inviting myself and others to start living these practices, so astrology and our cards, in a more embodied way so that we're really living what we're doing and we're not spending so much time up here thinking about the practices that we do. So this is not something I came up with. This is something that I learned at a talk I was at recently where the speaker, Terry Williams, I'll try to link her if I can remember. I hardly ever remember to do that stuff. She talked about really doing an embodied practice of using this new moon to plant a seed. So plant bulbs. If your ground hasn't frozen yet where you live, plant garlic, just any bulb plant seeds. And while you're doing that, having the intention of what do I want to grow that will come to fruition later? What am I manifesting at this time? This is a great time to manifest because there's so many planets in retrograde that we're really rethinking where we're at. We're kind of, my friend Eliza used the word recalibrating. So we're kind of like recalibrating at this time around, because Saturn's retrograde, so our structures and time, we're recalibrating Jupiter, our expansion. So instead of just continuing to expand, or pause to evaluate where we are in our expansion process. Mercury is retrograde, so we're contemplating our ideas and how we're moving forward and just the way we communicate with others and where we're going and just pausing there. Neptune is retrograde, and that's, to me, making me think about our dreams and collective consciousness and where are we in that process. And it feels like a lot of pressure right now in that area. So just like, where am I in this collective consciousness growth? A lot going on. This new moon is so rich and juicy, and it's just making me think of like fertile ground and like things that are being composted right now. And I recognize this is a really long intro, but it felt like so juicy to share all that's available to us at this time. And if we pause long enough as we like enter the wintering, are we brave enough? Are we brave enough to sit with and get curious about the monsters, our fear, the depth? Yeah. I would love to hold space in some sort of container for anyone who feels like they want support around that. And I will link my website in the description. Yeah, to be able to offer a container for this, or let's just have a discussion in the comments. Feels, like there's so much composting and being seeded right now. I'm just so excited to see what comes forward at this time. So let's get into the cards and get the read for this Scorpio new moon. Here is a reading for the Scorpio new moon happening at 1:47 a.m. on November 20th, 2025. Today we're working with the Camino Tarot. We're working with, I'm so sorry I can't say the name of this deck, and the Future Ancestor Tarot, and this is what we have. So I asked what is available for us during this new moon, because new moons are times to plant seeds, to manifest, and to really call forward something that we're desiring in our life right now. And we pulled the Star. Oh, so lovely. I then asked, how can we work with the energy of the Star? We got the Four of Seeds, which is the Four of Pentacles, and the Ace of Candles, which is the Ace of Wands. Finally, I said, what might we have to overcome in order to work with the energy of this new moon? And we've got laughter, gift, and falling. I also believe I used the words like what might we need to accept? So let's work with that too. The Star is so lovely as our introduction to how can we work with this new moon. The Star follows a tower, and it talks about healing and revitalization, another word given all the retrogrades that we're dealing with. Again, I see this like recalibrating coming in. This new moon offering us opportunities to slow down, go within. We have the ginkgo tree. I'm going to read the guidebook to see if there's some information there for us. We have the deer, which makes me think of like gentleness. Given all the noise and because the new moon is opposing Uranus, I think it could be loud, but in all of the noise comes this deep healing that is ready for us to access at this time, if we choose it. Let me see what the guidebook has to say about the symbols in this card. So the reading for this card is so fantastic. It talks a lot about how, according to these creators, the star is probably the most important card in the major arcana. They talk about this stellar muse that gives us a chance to envision the future and see its images and intuitively guide us out of darkness. Wow, especially during Scorpio season and given all of the things that we're experiencing right now. I'm seeing this like secretion of the breast milk too, and the way it kind of looks like a DNA strand, and how we are both like these like celestial water and the ancestral waters of the earth, and just really how we're one and how to start dreaming of a world where we're one, and through creativity bringing that forward. And that's echoed even further of how do we do that? Through finding ways and moments to be stable. Sometimes the Four of Pentacles can talk about clinging to stability, and there's something about the laughter card wanting to be here that says like how comical it is, the structures that we cling on to. I love that she is building something for herself, which again talks about this axis that we're working with around our personal resources and others' resources, and the structures that we depend upon. That there's just an invitation here to create something of our own making that makes us feel more stable. And like laughing at our attachment to structures that we didn't create and we don't necessarily understand fully. How we work with this is I imagine like through the Four of Pentacles is building our own resources. How do I say this? Building our own resources. Becoming a little bit more self-sufficient. And no, this doesn't mean like, have to like make your own food or grow everything, like, but how do we create connections in order to feel more stable in our communities? Because we have to be willing to accept gifts from others and offer gifts as well. Like there's a reciprocity that happens here. Also, the way that we can work with this star energy is through the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is all about like bringing forward a creation of some kind, of something that we're passionate about. And she's so vulnerable. We have to be a little bit like, and there's nudity here as well. There's something around being like vulnerable. There's nudity here as well. I'm just really noticing how important it is for us to be vulnerable at this time. Because that's our human nature, isn't it? To like show how vulnerable we are. Because if we act like we're strong, then I think in some ways it pushes others away. I think we have to be willing to accept that we might fail too, right? Like falling is a reality, right? Like when we go out and we try to do something and create something, there is potential for us to fall. But how can we accept that fear of this and keeping us from our true potential of easing into a more like healing way of being? That falling is worth the risk. There's so much about a message here too that just like, how can I'm having a lot of conversations. I'm not kidding. There is 4 different people from all over my circles this week that make comments like, in this next lifetime, I don't want to be human. Or, man, next life, I hope I come back as a dog. Or, I wouldn't choose this lifetime again. How do we reframe our thinking to know that this life is a gift? And all the alignments and all the shakeups and all of the craziness that's happening right now is right on time. We chose this at this time to like bring healing to the earth. This is the whole reading right here in this moment. Is in the full moon in Taurus, in this cycle, we were talking about like composting the ways that we idealize our lives and to become more realistic with it. Now, at this new start of this cycle, we're being invited to envision now what we really want. So if we composted and we let go of that which isn't really real for us, maybe that was the ideas that other people put on us that we thought we had to be, or the ways that we thought society expected from us, or like the ways that we once dreamed of our lives, but that's not the reality anymore, and we don't want those things anymore. This Scorpio new moon says, how can you re-envision the life that you actually want? And it's like primordial. It's like what you truly, truly want. And being able to laugh at the ways that you've clung to stability in the past, and that's something you're going to have to work on here. To accept your humanness and realize that it is a gift to be here at this time, and like you're here to offer healing to yourself and others. And that through this healing, you have a great gift to bring forward, and that it's going to require you to potentially fall on your ass and make a fool of yourself, but that it will be worth it. Huge, massive reading, long reading this week. Thank you if you were able to get through this whole thing. I would love to know how this lands for you. I'm excited. I am, and curious and hopeful. Good luck, and I will see you on the other side.